Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one, Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's up, Cleveland? Welcome to this edition of the Block the Shot to Stop, a Cleveland Cavaliers post-game podcast brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network, where we are live after Game 3 of the preseason, which, Kevin, thank God, only means one more, and then it counts.
Yeah, no, thankfully. I mean, if you were going to care at all about any preseason game, tonight was the one to care about, but still probably only a little bit. So we're ready. I think we're all ready to get the season going here in about a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, a little housekeeping before we get started and we recap tonight's game. I just first want to make sure we give a shout out to, we are kind of learning how to do all the socials right now. Kevin's been putting a lot of work in. It's definitely appreciated. So we have a Facebook page, The Block the Shot to Stop. You can check us out at Twitter at The Block the Stop. We're on Instagram. Is it underscored or is it just Block Shot Stop? I can't remember now.
I think it's just same as Facebook. I mirrored them. So
Awesome.
the block the shot to stop.
So give us follows there. And of course, if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, I think Amazon is carrying us now as well. Make sure you give us a nice subscription and a review there as well. But now that we got that out of the way, it was dress rehearsal night, as the kids call it, for preseason, where the starters play majority of the game. Tonight, Kevin, we got 3 full quarters from the starters. Well, except for Max Strus, obviously, as he's still going through his injury. Sam Merrill also wasn't active tonight, so Caris LeVert started. And dude, I know they lost, and I know that the starters weren't in there for majority of the game. But I think if we go into the regular season and Kenny Atkinson is getting performances like he got from the core 4 tonight, you're going to feel pretty good most nights about this team. Let's start with Darius Garland. Just was really, really active, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but in the passing lanes, had 4 steals, had 2 on back-to-back possessions where he got a fast break layup. That was awesome. Donovan Mitchell was definitely ramping up. You could tell Brad Daugherty was really excited about Mitchell during the broadcast and some of the stuff he was doing. Hitting threes and, moving the ball. Looked like we talked about on the last show, just those 10 minutes of the game where you had Donovan Mitchell play point guard, you kind of got a glimpse of what that could be. Jared Allen, who has not rested yet in preseason, looked really good again tonight. Looked really good. I've been really happy with Jared Allen's performance so far through 3 games. And of course, Evan Mobley. We obviously know the conversation that everyone's been having about him. I thought another night where he was really solid offensively, and we still saw those defensive Evan Mobley things that we all have grown accustomed to. Blocking shots, had a couple assists. His first half, he was terrific. He had one play where he kind of took Isaiah Stewart to the post by himself and hit a floater over him for an 18-footer. And it was a delight to see. So again, I know the box score says they lost, and the starters played a lot of minutes, but I was really happy with what the Cavs got tonight from the core 4.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And again, not being in a negative way, but the things that were negative were almost like out of, early season rust, not yet in rhythm kind of stuff. Like the 3-point shooting was not great tonight. Right. Like there were a lot of turnovers. Again, that's like a, early season, not in your rhythm yet. But a lot of positives, like you said, a lot of aggressiveness. Mitchell, especially that the last 6 minutes of the first quarter, was when he was becoming aggressive, and just how, it seems like he comes up with a new move every game to get to the baskets. So yeah, lots of really positive stuff. And I would say overall positive, mostly because the things that weren't great are things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be great early in the season, or even the preseason like we're in now.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like you said, 3-point shooting a little rough tonight. Put in context, Garland was 0 for 5 from 3 tonight. Mitchell was 3 for 6. Mobley was 1 of 2. Caris LeVert 0 of 3, and then the bench was a combined not very good either. Craig Porter Jr. hit his 1, and so did Ty Jerome. Yeah. So you have that going for you. But Dean Wade had a couple really nice shots, had a nice three that he had a hit on as well. But yeah, I agree with you. I think when you're kind of going through that situation and just kind of turnovers and sloppy play is kind of something that you're accustomed to so early in the preseason, and I mean so early in games being played, and I definitely saw that as well. But I think at the same point, you probably got to give Detroit a little bit of credit for some of the things. I mean, I don't think they necessarily played great, except for Fontecchio. I felt like he was like unstoppable in stretches. But they were kind of able to force those turnovers. They were kind of able to put Cleveland in uncomfortable positions and guard the perimeter. And I thought Detroit did a really good job of that. JB, obviously, old friend JB. Weird seeing him with like Pistons, by the way. Also seeing Lamar Stevens, who played 20 minutes tonight. He's really trying to make that Pistons team. He played pretty well. Shout out old friend Lamar Stevens as well. Got to give those guys a little bit of credit. I feel like they played pretty well.
Yeah, and watching the Pistons tonight really reiterated something that we talked about on the last podcast. Is I think JB is going to be great for that team. He's just really good with like young players that are kind of on the cusp of development, or like maybe pre-prime, things like that, where it's an ideal situation for him to be a really effective coach. Whereas where Cleveland is right now might not be his like strong suit as a coach. So I think I honestly hope it is kind of a, best for everybody. JB has found a team that he lends to his strength as far as coaching goes. And then Cleveland has now Kenny Atkinson, who I think we all feel really good about being a great fit for the current team.
I definitely think you're right there as well. Other things that kind of jumped out, I'm kind of going through some of the stuff I had written down on my notes. I thought that, let's talk about Jared Allen particularly, because I thought they rebounded pretty well tonight, and he led the way with 8 boards himself. 19 points, 8 boards tonight, 7 of 9 from the floor, and hit a couple nice free throws as well. I think that what we're seeing from Jared Allen so far, and I talked about this in the last show. You mentioned, and it was weird. We talked about in the Pacers game, why was he playing when no one else was playing as far as the starters? And I feel like he's getting his legs underneath him. And maybe it's just because he did miss the whole Boston series. He's trying to kind of like get more comfortable because he didn't have to play through that. But I thought that he was terrific. I thought he was really good tonight.
I think through 3 games, like he's the closest to midseason form of anyone on the team. And I don't think.
What up, Skyler?
Hey, Skyler. And I don't think second's that close. I mean, I think as far as where each player is now to where they'll be at like kind of their peak during the season, like I think Jared Allen is closest to his peak. He looks really, really good. The other guys don't look bad. They just look like it's preseason, like they're rounding into form and everything. So I agree. I thought he looked really good, really just good, like dives to the rim where people found him, was active on the glass, as he said, even the offensive glass. And so, yeah, I think he looks ready to go for next Wednesday night.
That oop that Mobley threw to him, I was like, is that going to be part of the offense? Because I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah,
I am like, you'll laugh at me for this. This is total nerd basketball stuff that we're talking right here. So one of my favorite things about the Fab Five, besides the stuff they did at Michigan with like changing the culture of college basketball and athletes' rights, was on the floor, Chris Webber and I want to say Juwan Howard ran this incredible high-low set that even when the games when they lost, like the North Carolina game and the Duke game, was still basically unstoppable. And so if that's what the Cavs are going to do a little bit with Mobley and Alex, I think Mobley's really an underrated passer, and you kind of saw that. But I thought that was awesome. Sabrina Merchant asked Allen at halftime about the play, and she's like, about that alley-oop. He's like, you mean the one that Evan threw to the ceiling? He's like, I'm glad I caught it. I thought that was a really nice addition to the offense.
I liked that play a lot. That's actually something in my notes I wanted to bring up now is I do think this game, it seemed like they did not run as much of the offense through those 2 big guys as they did in the first 2 games. How we talked about, I don't know if that's an abbreviation or whatever, but I just thought it was interesting that it seemed like seemed like they were trying to make a point to do that, particularly in the first quarter of the first two games, and not as much tonight. I mean, honestly, the offense was a little bit disorganized that first 6 minutes of the game, and then like Mitchell was actually the aggressor for the rest of the first quarter. But no, I thought that in play was hopefully a great indicator, and it was kind of reflective of what happened the first two games. But I think overall they didn't quite run as much offense through the two big guys as they did previously.
Yeah, for sure. Are you a fan of headband Donovan Mitchell? I think it's a good look.
Yeah, no, it makes it work. He looked good. If he looks good in it, if he's playing good in it, I'm all for it.
Same, absolutely. You mentioned his aggressive play was awesome. Really, really huge for that team, especially in that first quarter after kind of having that lackadaisical start you mentioned. I think his switch, and I know we have these conversations all the time, like, you know, is he could you win a title with him as your best player? And you hear that from all the national pundits. But the thing about him that's so fun to watch is there's very few people who can flip the switch like he can. Where it's like, yeah, he might be it might be a little sluggish for about 4 or 5 minutes, but once he's in gear, it's pretty hard to stop, and it's super fun to watch when he gets going.
It is. You're right, and those arguments, I think they're always goofy. Like,
I do too.
Can you win a championship if he's your best player? Well, tell me who the second best player is, and the third, and the fourth.
Right? Yeah,
because that's probably as big an indicator as if he's the number one guy to them winning a championship. So, no, I agree. I think particularly that last 6 minutes of the first quarter, a little bit in the second quarter, you could tell Mitchell's like, I want to get aggressive and get some reps in here, and before I call it a night kind of thing. So kind of picked his spots and look good when he did. He definitely he's as quick as ever and got by anybody that tried to get in front of him.
He's dude, he's so freaking fun, and he's might have me break. I have this code. Mm-hmm. Where basketball shoes wise, mostly sneaker wise in general, I only wear Nikes.
Okay.
But his new Adidas shoes that are like modeled to look like Haribo gummy bears, I might have to break code. They look pretty sweet. They look good.
Yeah. No, he's like thought it was all positive from Mitchell tonight. I mean, his shooting wasn't the best shooting night or anything, but I thought you saw everything that you would want to see out of him in what's most likely his last preseason game.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're going to play Friday in Chicago.
I had one or two things that and mostly we're going to talk about the big four all season, but to me, kind of some of the things I look at in the preseason are, rotations stuff, what guys might get playing time and lineups that play together. So I wrote down a couple things. First of all, I took note that LeVert started in Strus's place instead of Okoro. Mm-hmm. And I like both of those guys on your team. I think Okoro is a better match with the big four, to start, because he kind of brings something that those four guys don't, particularly with, his size, his ability to guard wings, things like that. And then LeVert is better off the bench, kind of filling in for when a Garland or Mitchell's out of the game.
Yeah.
But just want to see what you thought about that.
Excuse me, I had something in my throat as I tried to mute myself real quick. I completely agree, and I think that the numbers backed that up last year, if I remember correctly. That was the Cavs' best 5-man unit.
Yeah,
was that group of guys. You mentioned I love LeVert, but I think LeVert is definitely and Skyler talked about this last week as well. LeVert is a come off the bench, get me 3 or 4 threes, get hot, microwave kind of guy. Where Okoro can definitely give you that. Obviously was a really good shooter last year, but also is a really good perimeter defender.
Yeah.
And, we just sang the praises of Donovan Mitchell. We all love him very much. We're not here talking about how great of a perimeter defender he is by any means.
Nor are we going to have that conversation about LeVert. And that's why obviously Mitchell's a significantly better player, but they're kind of redundant of each other being in the same lineup together. And that's again, it's not anything about not wanting LeVert on my team. I would just stagger the minutes differently. And again, it's a preseason game. Coach Atkinson's probably just trying things or whatever, but just something I took note of in the season. that I would hope that they would try and honestly, I would kind of want either Strus or Okoro, or if they eventually, develop like Tyson or someone in that can defend wings at all times around the big four and LeVert and anybody else that's maybe a little bit more like offensive minded.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that was a really good point. So Tristan Thompson, no minutes tonight. Is he on the chopping block? Is this the end of Tristan Thompson in Cleveland? Should we be concerned? I'm kidding.
He's still got a life or two left with the Cavs.
He's only like 100 in basketball years, though.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's going to be. I think that's going to be one of the major things this season is how the backcourt minutes get kind of broken up. Obviously, Garland and Mitchell are going to get their 30 plus minutes a night and everything, but you have between LeVert, Okoro, Strus, Merrill, they're talking about Ty Jerome getting minutes, Okoro,
I thought he looked pretty good tonight, Jerome.
There's probably not going to be enough minutes for everybody. And, eventually there'll be injuries and things like that. But for me in preseason, that's just something I'm looking at. And you could tell everyone's playing a little bit and they're trying to figure it out. But eventually that group of 7 guys is going to be whittled down to 5 that get regular minutes.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of Friday's probably for those guys, your best, the guys are going to be kind of trying to put their stamp on the rotation. I thought Ty Jerome tonight looked really solid. Kind of curious your thoughts there as well. 8 points, 4 assists, a steal, and was super aggressive.
Yeah,
and
he was.
I think that's where I really love when he facilitates the offense. I think he's really good at that. And he is your stereotypical Tony Bennett, Virginia point guard. But seeing him just kind of attack and get to the rim, draw fouls tonight. So he had 4 foul shots in his, abbreviated time playing. I really, really liked what they got from him in his 15 minutes.
Yeah, Ty Jerome's a guy there's a lot of guys I wonder about, why haven't they carved out a niche as an 8th or 9th man regularly on teams. It's interesting where guys like Ty Jerome don't, but then other guys who you think is pretty equal talent, equal contributor, they do kind of carve out those regular minutes. That being said, I do I like Ty Jerome a lot. I do think it's a tough team for him to find minutes on. If
I do too.
Healthy.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll really be about for him. Health, obviously, and what do they want to do about backup point guard? Do they want Mitchell to play some backup point guard, or anyone else play point guard, or if they strictly just want someone that relieves Garland for 15 minutes a game? That's one thing. Jerome, all those other guys I mentioned aren't pure point guards besides Ty Jerome, so that may give him a little bit of advantage to get some regular rotation minutes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I just want to point out a couple more guys before we wrap up the game tonight. Dean Wade, we talked about, I think is really kind of a guy who's really carved a niche out as a 2-way 3-and-D guy for them. I liked his game a lot. I just like his ability to rebound. I think that's a super underrated thing about him. He's a really good shooter, as we know. But it's not often you see guys who can shoot that well and rebound that well. And from his stature. And then your boy Georges Niang, 3 boards tonight. Watch out.
Yeah,
we'll look at the shooting numbers, but the boards.
It's interesting, and I know it's a very deceiving stat, but Dean Wade plus 20 tonight in a game that they lose by 16. Ty Jerome was the only other one in double digits positive.
Darius Garland was a minus 23, but had 6 steals.
Yeah, well, it was him and Mobley were both, because they came out 6 minutes into the first quarter when they were down 14, and then immediately went on the run. So I noticed that too at both of them. But their plus minuses look very off from Jared Allen's and Mitchell's. But yeah, no, I think Dean Wade's going to have a regular spot in this rotation for sure. Like you said, the size, the shooting ability, the fact that he is just solid all the way around. He's not going to hurt you and can just. I see him being a regular, regular second team guy, probably averaging 15-ish, maybe a little more minutes a game regularly, and they're going to need him on this team.
For sure.
He could end up playing a major role throughout the season.
And the last guy I want to mention, if you have anyone else you want to throw out there, by all means. I know you remember this guy from your old days of rooting for the Bearcats in the American Athletic Conference, the old Wichita State, Craig Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's not really probably going to jump the guys ahead of him at any point in the depth chart, but I really like his game. And I thought last year he was on a two-way with the Cavs. He looked really good in stretches when he was playing there. And then I thought that tonight he had another really good game. He played the whole fourth quarter. So of course at that point the Pistons are up, but I feel like every time I watch him play, he does something where you go, okay, yeah, that guy can stick in the league. Mm-hmm. So probably going to be with the Charge a little bit more this year just because so he can get some reps. But he's a guy I really like his game. And I feel like every time he's in there, he does something I'm like, all right, cool. I'm a fan.
He has like solid backup guard 10-year career written all over him.
Yeah.
I think. Probably has to, like a lot of young guys, has to improve his shooting a little bit. And but he's got otherwise, he's only 6'2", but he has ideal size, very athletic, good on the defensive end, does a lot of little things. And yeah, I think, I think he could be a contributor at some point this season for sure.
Yeah, I did too. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we start talking about Friday?
Not so much. I mean, the only thing I was thinking about was Kenny Atkinson and what kind of from his eyes, and he was thinking, and that's a lot, especially with it being a new coach on a pretty, we've talked about a very team with that is basically the same as last year, lots of continuity, and a new coach. I just kind of wondered, where his head is at, because they brought him in because he's not going to coach a team the exact same way,
right,
as JB did last year. So he's really the only one I'm thinking about. Like I'm kind of wondering like what's going on in his head, because I think he probably likes maybe a couple of these guys for more rotation minutes than we're really thinking right now. And I've kind of just been playing Coach Atkinson in my head and seeing like who that might be.
I've been playing with the Cavs a lot on 2K to try to get a feel.
Okay.
I don't know if I can get a feel, man, because I feel like after, like, if you look at the box score tonight, let's say Max Strus is in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
After about the Georges Niang minutes, like, is that the cutoff? Because he's been pretty open about 10 men. But I'm like, man, there's some really good players there. You're gonna be able to cut and miss some minutes from in that circumstance.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm just kind of interested, and it's something, like I said, we'll start finding out in a week. But I think we have a pretty good idea who the rotation is going to be. But I think there's going to be a couple surprises, or even guys that we think will be in the rotation will be getting more or less minutes than we thought. It's that's really the most interesting thing right now, because like I said, you're not going to learn much about the Big Four. The Big Four, they're four best players, and we're going to talk about them all year. So I was just kind of looking at other kind of little things surrounding them this preseason.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So now we turn the page to the final preseason game on Friday in, I guess, sort of, kind of your neck of the woods. Is it? We're getting there.
It will be my neck of the woods.
Will be your neck of the woods. Okay, that's the fair way to put it. So a trip to the United Center. Kevin can attest to this for those who haven't been. One of the coolest arenas in the world. I love the United Center. I grew up a Chicago Bulls fan before I came here, so I can say this. But I had enough of rooting for teams with bad ownership and like teams that wanted to win. So I became a Cavs fan. You can make fun of me all you want. It's the truth. But they go to Chicago this week, and I imagine, like we said, you're not going to see the starters much. I joked about Tristan Thompson not playing tonight. I assume he probably plays a good amount Friday, probably about 15 minutes or so. And then you're going to see a lot of guys kind of fighting for that extra time, because for those two-way guys, and also those kind of back up those guys, you have a month before the G League season starts. So this is your chance to kind of stick with the NBA team for a little bit. I'm really genuinely curious, because in the games where the stars have played a lot, Jalen Tyson has not played much at all. Like tonight, he played the full fourth quarter. And then last week against the Pacers, he played a lot. I think he played 25 to 26 minutes. So I have a feeling he's going to play a lot in this game to kind of get his legs underneath him before he's not playing as much when the season starts. But is there anything particular in a game like that where it's just like, whatever, let's get through it and get to Toronto on Wednesday? Is there anything particular you're kind of looking at from a game like this?
I mean, first thing would be, are they going to surprise us with like one of the random starters playing all the other ones? Yeah, like they did with Allen last game. But other than that, not really. Just, I mean, the biggest thing would be kind of looking at these guys who are going to be second unit guys, or maybe even towards the end of the bench guys, out of the rotation guys, and like what complementary skills do they display to the starters, and particularly to the big four, or like, the biggest question mark in this team is like wing defense. Like it's a wings league. Like a lot of the best players are wings. The Cavs are very much an anomaly that their best players are big guys and small guards. Right. So like, can someone fill that role and like be a really good defender of other teams, like best wing? Can they be the 3-and-D type guys? Can they be a lot of like a lot of good cutters playing off of like Mitchell and Garland's penetration, things like that? So I think that's the biggest thing I look for, instead of one particular player, like all the players, which of them possess a complementary skill to the guys who are going to be, get the bulk of the minutes once the games get real.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just kind of for those guys who are going to be contributors, stay healthy. And that's all you really care about. Just get through it and get ready to be in Toronto on Wednesday. I am curious to see. So non-Cavs related news, Lonzo Ball played tonight. And that's awesome. That's so cool. I'm so happy for him, man, for everything that dude's gone through. Obviously, I'm a huge Lonzo Ball fan, so I would be cool if he played Friday night. I would be, just kind of keep getting his legs underneath him. That'd be great. So cool for him.
I was just looking up. He played 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Tonight. Yeah. I didn't see any of it, but no, definitely good for him. Like a lot of perseverance to come back from a 2-year injury and frankly, a surgery that not many professional athletes have had and tried to come back from, with a knee cartilage replacement. So I'm like you said, I'll be rooting for him as well.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, we will be back Friday after the post game show. After the game, it'll be Skylar and I. And then before we get to Wednesday for the season opener in Toronto, Kevin, Skylar, and myself are going to be live on Monday night, and we're going to do our full-on Cavs season preview show. At that point, we'll know who made the roster and who didn't, so we can kind of go from there. We're going to discuss a lot of different things. We're going to discuss our favorite bets on the season for the Cavs, what we realistically want to see from the team this year, bold predictions, you name it. This episode's going to have it, so it won't be a game show. That's not the right word for it. It won't be a post-game podcast. It'll just be our season preview before we get into the 82 games. Hopefully, we imagine more like 92 or more stretch. Things go the way we all think it's going to go. So we're very excited. We're really happy that you guys are on this journey with us. So keep tuning in. I mentioned all the places already at the beginning of the show where you can find us if you don't already. We're definitely appreciative. We know this is going to be a lot of fun this year. I cannot wait. So Kevin, thanks for hanging out tonight. I definitely appreciate it, man. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Everyone have a good one, and we'll see you on Friday night.